the board will have 5 minutes to speak on his or her issue. Because of posting requirements of the Open Meetings Act, board members will not ask questions of the patron nor answer any questions posed by the patron. No action can be taken on any issue presented during the patron comment section of the board meeting. Patrons addressing the board will be notified when they're approaching the last 67ths of their allotted time to speak. When I call your name, please step to the podium and state your name and address for the record, please. Mr. Rogers to my left, which would be your right, will be the timekeeper. He will let you know when you have approximately 1 minute remaining to speak. Our first speaker will be Andrew White. Please step forward and state your name and address for the record, please, sir.
Sorry, I was in the way back.
Time's up, sorry.
Hey, yeah. Okay, good evening, board, community. Thank you all for coming out tonight. So I want to start out by saying,
Name and address, please.
oh, I'm sorry, this microphone's a little different. Andrew Wyatt, 1109 Panorama Loop, Waxahachie, Texas. I want to start by saying that I understand the role of a board member is a very difficult job. You all are given information and often forced to make decisions based on the information that you've received. So I want to start out tonight by saying, first, I appreciate the work that y'all do, and I know that you don't make your decisions, you don't take them lightly. Over the last couple of weeks, I've been trying to talk to as many people in the community as I could about many things going on in our community, but one of those, of course, is the most divisive curriculum product ever in the history of Waxahachie ISD, and that's Amplify. But I do want to say I appreciate Ms. Stephanie Foster at Northside Elementary. She reached out to me and talked to me about what their experiences have been at Northside. And I appreciate the fact that she took the time to call me, to talk to me, and she even had some of her teachers reach out. And I know some of those teachers are here tonight, I believe. And I appreciate all their voices, okay? And many of them are for using Amplify in the classroom. And so I know it's a tough decision that if y'all have to make it tonight, but you also have the other side and those teachers and parents that have major issues with this curriculum product. For all the reasons that I've discussed before, I won't go into those tonight. But I wanted to present the board members because you are the ones responsible for the decisions that are made in this district, and you're responsible for holding the superintendent accountable. So I wanted to share a little bit of data with you all. The first page is a sheet that I received. It has 5th, 4th, and 3rd grade. This is from Ms. Foster's campus that she provided to the board candidates. And I wanted to show, and I think Ms. Foster made a few changes after I got this copy, but there has been growth at Northside. And I think that's something that needs to be celebrated because it appears based on this data that they are moving students. And I think that's something that needs to be celebrated. But I also have a second page of data. And I'm not sure if the board members have ever seen this data. These are the interim scores from February from all of the campuses. And it's not a perfect picture, but let me just kind of run through these numbers. And I'm presenting this tonight just so you can ask questions before a decision is made about, is Amplify effective? Clift Elementary, 3rd grade, 47, 4th grade, 41, 5th grade, 50. Dunaway, I think it was 40, 48, 53, 60. Felty, 59, 62, 63. Marvin, 48, 44, 59. Let's see here. Can't read the other one. Shackelford, 46, 55, 61. Simpson, 59, 65, 67. Wedgeworth, 42, 38, 47. And Wildman, I believe it was 56, 54, 69. So I'm not sure if y'all have ever seen these numbers, but these are the numbers from February. 4 of the schools that are using Amplify are on that list. I guess my question is, what other data have y'all been provided to make an informed decision before we implement Amplify at every school? That's the first question. Another question I have is, and I hope I'm wrong, and I know I'm almost out of time, several people told me today that work in the district that some of the Amplify and Eureka sources arrived on Friday at the warehouse. But I think y'all are making a decision tonight to vote on these resources. So I hope my sources are wrong, but to me it just sounds interesting that you all have not even voted and possible resources were delivered on Friday to this district. Just a question. Thank you all.
Our next speaker is Courtney Sutton. Please step forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, I'm Courtney Sutton, 1200 Northview Drive here in Waxahachie. Okay, I'm a little nervous, sorry. All right, so hello, board members, Dr. Hollingsworth, and fellow Waxahachie residents. I stand before you as a first grade teacher here in WISD, been teaching for 5 years. We've embarked on the journey of Amplify, and I just wanted to share my experience with you all. So, in first grade, we started with the Fables and Stories unit. In this unit, our students increased their vocabulary, their reading comprehension. They learned valuable lessons about ethics and behaviors, became familiar with key elements and parts of the story. At the end of this unit, we got to use our teacher craft. We put a little spin on it. We dressed up as the characters from the stories. Our students went through the rooms. We did the milk and the maid pill, and we had a teacher, like, they got to milk a cow, and they, like a little fake cow. They loved it. Their vocabulary has expanded vastly. Our next unit was my students' favorite, and it was the human body unit. In this unit, students were introduced to a network of body systems, organs that perform vital jobs. Students learned the fundamental parts and functions of 5 body systems: the skeletal, the muscular, digestive, the circulatory, and the nerves. And the narrator of the story was a pediatrician that shared rhymes and reinforced basic ideas about the human body. My students created medical books of each body system. They got to write 2 to 3 sentences about each body system. They completed a huge paragraph at the end of everything they learned about the body system. We did a hospital day, and the students got to have a white coat ceremony. They were heard saying, "I want to be a doctor, just like Dr. Wellbody," who was the narrator of the stories. Throughout our journey, I've witnessed a remarkable transformation in my classroom. The kids are not only learning, but they're actively engaged. They're retelling the stories. They're using STEM bins to retell tons of stories using vocabulary, and they're diving into new topics like ancient civilization. We have written friendly letters to dinosaurs and fairy tale creatures and characters. We've used Venn diagrams to compare and contrast stories. We've wrote narrative retellings of their favorite fairy tales, wrote an informational text about the history of the earth. Students completed research projects on habitats, along with many other pieces of writing throughout the year. Implementing Amplify has not only enriched our lessons, but also gave me the freedom to plan exciting activities, from themed dressed-up days to online field trips. We went virtually to the moon. The students got to see the moon, walk on the moon, explore. We got to go to the dinosaurs and talk to them about how the asteroid's gonna make them extinct, so watch out. So in essence, Amplify has breathed new air and new life into my classroom. And the way that the curriculum is prepared for me to internalize has allowed me to spend more time with my family and my friends. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mary Lowe, step forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, thank you so much.
Can you state your name and address address for the record?
So my name is Mary Lowe, and my address is private for personal reasons. Thank
Are you
you.
refusing to give your address to him?
It is confidential for security reasons. I speak at a lot of school boards, and I don't want my address announced over that while I'm away from my home. Thank you. So there are many things about Amplify that you already know. The main thing is that you were lied to about its content. The cost of it was hidden from you, and the outcome of the results was also manipulated by the Education Service Center. I want to talk to you about why I know so much about Amplify. I think it was the first non-school member to know about Amplify in Crowley, Texas, when we came back from COVID. Every teacher was astonished by the content. Crowley did not see any results, and they had it for 2 years. Now they're beholden to it because they can't afford anything else, because they invested in that. They were a pilot program. Things in there like, do you have on panties? I mean, the content is ridiculous. So for you to even consider this is like, why? Why would you go there? So let's consider outcome. You have Temple saying that their outcome for reading and their improvements went up. So I called the superintendent, and we had a lengthy conversation, and he said, yes, immediately post-COVID, we saw a rise, but after a period of time, it tapered off, and it was not the only curriculum that we used. We used it in combination with 3 other sources. And so I think if you're really wanting to see improvement, you're going to talk to some people who have seen improvement, not people who have the baked books that the state is providing you on Amplify. So why would teachers want this? Teachers are being lied to. They're being sold a concept that defunds and destroys their profession. At this very minute, the State Board of Education is revising a requirement that teachers will no longer have to take ethics or write lesson plans, because what they intend to do is abolish the teaching profession. So I grew up near Waxahachie. Your community, like my community, relies on your school to employ people. Your employment is going to go down drastically within 5 years of adopting this type of curriculum. You need to think about the impact, not just on the students and the profession of teaching, but your community. This will destroy your community. Finally, this abolishes local control. Once you take this, you have given up your right to pick up and choose the curriculum that you use, because you are handing over the state, the next piece of the puzzle, to mandate statewide curriculum in every subject matter. That is the agenda, and if you will go and follow what's happening at the TEA and with TPPF, you will see that next year the SBOE and you are going to lose your right, because that's what they're going to push, and you're not going to have a choice. If you guys really care, you'll cut your budget in other ways and go to tried and true curriculum and stop falling for this lie. Now then, why would a superintendent not investigate further? Well, because you look around and this Texas Education Agency is closing schools right and left. All of our superintendents in Texas are feeling pressure that if they don't do things the exact way this TEA and this state governor wants you to do, you're going to be closed down. They're investigating schools not just for their rating, but for how they appropriate CTE funds. They're coming for you. And if you don't stand up here and somebody else doesn't stand up in another city, then you can kiss freedom and independent school districts goodbye in the state of Texas. You can either be a part of the solution to where we are, or you can hand them your piece of the puzzle and close the door. Thank you.
Meg Bakich. Step forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Meg Bakich. I'm not going to give my address for the same reason.
We already have it.
Great. I'm here tonight to again encourage you, since you already have it, to employ the same thought process this board used when it decided to test Amplify in 4 schools to see if it delivered the miraculous and immediate improvement in test scores it promises. The district has not yet even seen 1 star cycle or any data to give reason to vote to push Amplify on every campus. So then why is the board moving ahead without seeing the results it delayed full implementation last fall to see? Who is pushing Amplify and why? If you're not asking, can I see who is financially benefiting from this curriculum? You need to. With no data proving Amplify has been tried and proven successful, you must vote no. It's not good for the students. While this year the district received a grant for $350,000, there is no assurance, if you read the bill, or reason to believe you'll receive it again the following year when new workbooks are needed. What's going to happen? The district will then use Amplify on a device, which, as I stated the last time I was here, HB 1605 is a vendor digital curriculum bill that mandates a minimum of 4 hours per day per student on a device. So when you hear teachers this year saying we use workbooks, my response to them is maybe today, but you won't be tomorrow, because Waxahachie can't afford to refresh those workbooks each year. And what happens when the devices become obsolete, which we all know they will? Just look at your iPhone, and how many times have you had to replace your iPhone because it becomes obsolete? That's what's happening in districts around the state, and they can't afford the refresh of the devices. As fiduciaries, you must vote no. The best decision this district can make is to protect local control by not allowing a state curriculum to take over the district. When teachers don't create lesson plans and districts don't have a voice in its curriculum, control is totally lost and parental rights have gone down the drain. This is the goal of the TEA. Brian Harrison, your representative, knows that Amplify contains bad content, doesn't teach children to read and write well, and openly advocates teaching diversity, equity, and inclusion. Brian Harrison is fully aware that Amplify is a colossal fail throughout the state. I will give him a hall pass for not being here tonight because I'm sure he has a busy schedule, but I am hopeful that he has done the right thing for his constituents and contacted each of you to encourage you to hold off on adopting any state curriculum, especially Amplify. It's so clear the best investment this district can make is in a strong academic curriculum, great teachers who write their own lesson plans that can be used year to year and tailored to each child's individual needs as necessary. A state curriculum does not do that. And I'm reading right here that this environment in Waxahachie respects individual differences. Well, when you're learning a state curriculum and it's on a device, it doesn't respect individual differences. It puts everyone in the same box, and a teacher is nothing more than a facilitator following a plan that doesn't suit her classroom or her students. It can't be personalized at all. Let's see. And now I'm going to speak to the teachers and parents as I did last time. It's imperative that you work together and that teachers inform parents to the shift happening in the classroom that's reducing the role of the teacher, parental rights, while children aren't learning to read and write and do math. And then it is incumbent on parents to show up at these meetings and to be the voice for their children. Teachers, if you're not aware of what's happening at the State Board of Education, as Mary just said, it's time to recognize that Morath and the TEA is doing everything possible to reduce your roles. They are actually discussing the new certification program, not even having lesson plans in it. The effect of this to your profession will be devastating. And at that point, any robot can do the job. And the worst effect will be for our children.
1 minute, ma'am.
I'm just going to end with, not only is the TEA working to diminish the role of the teacher, but without doubt, they want to remove your roles and the voice of the taxpayer. And you all, I'm sure, have seen that. We're seeing it in Houston. We're seeing it throughout the state. You see it with the reason for the District of Innovation that gave the power to an appointed commissioner to come in and remove locally elected trustees and replace them with their own appointed boards. That is, just so you all are aware, literally the cancellation of every vote here. Everyone who voted for you, their vote would mean nothing. That is the loss of our freedom in our constitutional republic. You guys have got to stand up against the tyranny in the TEA. You have to vote no to this bill. You have to start taking local control and putting it back where it belongs with parents and with teachers in the district and with y'all. Thank you.
Next item on our agenda will be our consent agenda. We have two items, items A and B. I'll take a motion to approve both items on consent agenda, or we can discuss them individually.
I make a motion that we approve both agenda items.
Motion to approve consent agenda items A and B by Mrs. Timmerman. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Schofield. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries 7-0. Moving into our action items, our first action item A will be consideration with possible action for approval of the hiring of the Simpson Elementary Principal.
Good evening, Board. Ms. Mott and I are thrilled to bring you two very highly qualified principal candidates this evening. Our first is the new principal of Simpson Elementary, and our recommendation is to hire Ms. Christy Bragg.
Ms. Bragg is an internal hire who has most recently served as an assistant principal at Clift Elementary. She has 10 years of education experience, 7 as a teacher and 3 as an administrator. She holds both bachelor's and master's degrees from Tarleton State University in Stephenville, Texas. So I'd like to introduce you already know, but to Christy Bragg, and I'll give her the mic for just a second.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve action item A, which will be the hiring of our Simpson Elementary Principal as presented. Motion by Mr. McCutcheon, second by Mr. Rogers. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you so much. First off, I am honored and thrilled to introduce myself as now the principal of Simpson Elementary, starting in 2024-25 school year, so I'm super excited. As a product of Waxahachie ISD myself, I'm currently raising 2 of my own in WISD, so I'm just thrilled to carry on the Waxahachie traditions and our values and just really just pushing on everything that we're working for. I'm excited for our future, and again, I'm just honored to be the leader of Simpson. So thank you.
Ms. Bragg, do you have anybody here with you? Yes. Want to introduce your husband?
Oh, yes. I have an awesome husband, too, Corey Bragg. Falling down on the job. Let's sit right here so the glare from the projectors doesn't get us. Mr. Bragg, can you get? Mr. Bragg is tall, so. No, I do need, so Mr. Regal, if you can scoot this way, and Mr. Schofield, if you'll come up a little bit for me. And then Mr. Autry. I know, that's I know. Mr. Autry. All right, ready?
All right, thank you, Board.
Action item B, consideration with possible approval of the hiring of the Wedgeworth Elementary Principal.
All right, we are thrilled to bring you Dr. Julianne Denton as our candidate for Wedgeworth Elementary Principal.
Board, Dr. Denton comes to us from Oklahoma City Public Schools. She has 10 years of experience in education. She holds a bachelor's degree from the University of Oklahoma, a master's degree from the University of Central Oklahoma, and a doctoral degree from Abilene Christian University. Board, we ask that you approve Dr. Denton for principal at Wedgeworth Elementary.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve Dr. Denton as the principal of Wedgeworth Elementary.
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Timmerman,
Second.
second by Mrs. Starnader. All in favor, any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries 7-0.
We are so excited for Dr. Denton to be joining us here, getting her back into Texas. We're very excited about that, and I'll turn the mic over to her.
Sure. Good evening, Board, Dr. Hollingsworth, WISD team, and visitors. I am so excited to be joining the Waxahachie Independent School District. I grew up in Texas, but have lived in Oklahoma for the last 14 years. Met my sweet husband, Casey, over there in Oklahoma. We actually met teaching 1st and 4th grade in an elementary school in South Oklahoma City. So education and public education is very near and dear to our hearts. We love kids, we love teachers, and I'm so excited to serve the Wedgeworth community. So thank you so much.
Mr. Rogers is hiding.
Okay, we will be removing action item C, so we'll move to action item D, which is consideration with possible action to approve district instructional resources for the 2024-2025 school year and beyond.
Good evening, Board. Dr. Hollingsworth. I first want to thank our teachers. I've got a lag here in my slides, sorry. I first want to thank our teachers that came tonight to speak in favor of these products, but I also want to thank them for the incredibly hard work they did this year. From classroom to classroom, campus to campus, I've seen teachers working hard to make sure that their students are growing academically, and I've been really proud of the work that we've seen here in the district. We came to you last September with a plan to address what we knew has been a problem in WISD in relation to our English language arts and reading curriculum. We requested the purchase of Amplify K through 8. You requested that we do more research, speak with teachers, and conduct a more thorough program analysis. We returned to you in October after completing your requests, and we asked for the purchase of Amplify Texas for our elementary school campuses. You graciously approved the purchase and pilot at 4 of our campuses, which began using Amplify Texas on October 23rd, 2023. I know that date, so do all the teachers on the campus, because that's when the hard work really started on those campuses. Since that time, we've worked closely with campus administrators, instructional coaches, content specialists, and teachers to implement the product at these 4 campuses. In addition, we designed an instructional framework plan for Eureka Math. Our science coordinator led a teacher committee to review our selected proclamation year science instructional materials, and we applied for and received almost $2.5 million in additional state funding to support teachers with these new resources starting this summer. At the secondary level, through ongoing collaboration with teachers, we've been writing district unit learning plans, designed an instructional framework, an implementation plan for math grades 6 through 12, and our science coordinator also led a teacher committee to review and select our proclamation year science instructional materials at the secondary level. Over the last 6 months, I brought teachers and administrators up to you to share the success that they've seen and felt in the classroom. Some came tonight. I didn't recruit these people to come tonight. They came because their hearts called them to come tonight. While academic achievement will certainly be a driving factor in our strategies moving forward, I've been encouraged by the feedback that we've received from the 85 WISD teachers that were anonymously surveyed during our Amplify pilot by Mrs. Burkhalter and Mr. O'Daniel at each campus. Their responses included that they feel more knowledgeable and more confident in their subject area, They're spending less time per week outside their workday finding instructional resources, and they feel that the materials have positively impacted student growth. In moving to HQIMs like Amplify and Eureka, we're being proactive and adaptive in making these resources support WISD students and teachers. In addition to a thorough state review of these materials, our WISD Teaching, Learning, and Innovation team has also reviewed each unit and story, not because we feel the content is controversial or questionable, but because we care deeply about ensuring that everything meets our community standards, which may be different than those in other areas of the state. Amplify Texas incorporates structured literacy principles that are rooted in evidence-based practices from the science of reading. This approach ensures systematic and explicit instruction, catering to the diverse needs of our students. By embracing structured literacy, we empower educators with the tools necessary to address reading challenges effectively, moving away from outdated methodologies. As you may remember, House Bill 1605 aims to increase rigor in the classroom and reduce teacher workload by providing for high-quality instructional materials and develop lesson plans. House Bill 1605 also seeks to increase high-quality instructional materials for students. It relieves teachers of certain duties relating to materials development and provides transparency for parents by providing for a TEA process of instructional material review. To confirm this, I looked up House Bill 1605, and it does state that teachers cannot be required to use their biweekly planning time to create instructional materials unless there is a supplemental duty in place with that teacher. Meaning, unless I enter another contractual agreement, I can't ask teachers to write lesson plans during their weekly planning time. Last August, our district focused our efforts to enhance student achievement through the Effective Schools Framework. This framework, endorsed by TEA, identifies strategies employed by high-achieving campuses and guides our efforts towards school improvement. Today, I'm here to share with you our progress, particularly in addressing targeted school improvement and advancing literacy through evidence-based practices. TEA identifies schools for targeted improvement when one or more student groups consistently underperform over 3 consecutive years. In our district last fall, 3 campuses met this criteria, triggering the targeted school improvement process. Recognizing this urgency, we turned to the Effective Schools Framework for guidance. The Effective Schools Framework emphasizes the critical role of the instructional core, the dynamic interaction between teachers, students, and content in shaping learning outcomes. To bolster this core, strategic staffing, high-quality instructional materials, assessments, and a positive school culture are imperative. Strong leadership and meticulous planning are pivotal to the success of these initiatives. Aligned with Lever 4.1 of the Effective Schools Framework, we focused our efforts on English language arts, and reading curriculum with a high-quality instructional material. As I presented last August to you, a national study revealed that 17% of students were at or above grade level, only 17%. TEA came back and did their study, and it was 19%.
Of the lessons, Dr. Benneker.
Yes, sir, of the lessons, I'm sorry, of the lessons,
yeah.
yes. Yes. As a component of this framework, we submitted our own teacher-created and written lessons and assignments for evaluation. The analysis revealed that our submitted assignments were below the state and national percentages. After extensive research and consultation with educators, we identified Amplify Texas as a promising solution. Following your guidance, we conducted a thorough program analysis and piloted Amplify Texas in 4 of our elementary schools, starting October 23rd, 2023. Effective leaders have a lasting impact on implementation. They know how to create opportunities for change, opportunities for collaboration, and how to measure progress to fuel success. While any kind of shift in instructional approaches is challenging initially, our goal is to ensure that our students are getting on grade level lessons and that we're easing the burden on our classroom teachers. Further, we are not seeking to remove the art of teaching. On the contrary, we know a student's classroom teacher impacts their learning the most. We want confident teachers who use their own instructional resources use these instructional resources as core content, supplemented with their own enrichment and differentiation strategies based on their expertise. Having a plan in place in the spring will allow us to maximize the remaining days this school year and the summer toward a smooth transition. Our principals and teachers have asked for and want to plan effectively and prepare for the 2024-2025 school year. The success of our literacy initiative hinges on collaborative efforts. Through targeted professional development and ongoing support with a partner, we will equip our teachers with the skills to implement Amplify reading and Eureka effectively. Our comprehensive plan underscores the importance of building capacity among educators, administrators, and instructional coaches. This plan outlines the necessary steps to ensure that students benefit from improved literacy and reading skills, setting them on a path towards academic success, and ensuring that we live out our highest priority of every student growing academically every year. The project to support Waxahachie ISD and the planning and implementation of HQIM for Amplify and Eureka focuses on a multi-stream, stakeholder-based, adaptive approach centered around building the instructional capacity of our leaders, ensuring strong engagement, communication, and alignment of practice with regional leaders, providing timely and content-specific support through differentiated professional learning and school-based support, and includes creating a multi-year implementation plan for the district. Undergoing the vast amount of instructional change happening in WISD requires extensive planning around communication. Our support will ensure consistent communication, clear and relevant community engagement, and compelling artifacts to tell the story of implementation in Waxahachie ISD. Deliverables that will accompany our work with Ed Elements includes a thorough communication plan and messaging documents, parental transparency, videos of the work accomplished, teacher pulse surveys, and community engagement summaries. Dr. Hollingsworth has talked about high-quality instructional materials with every staff at this campus during his spring campus rounds. In addition, a 3-page memo outlining the plan was shared with staff on April 17th, 2024. Our curriculum staff members have also visited individual campuses for lunch and learn sessions, and we've allowed our teachers and staff to see the materials, to ask questions, and to get a better understanding of how the resources work together. We will continue to inform and support our teachers throughout the rollout and implementation of this plan. For Amplified Texas and Eureka Math, TLI will provide lesson by lesson slideshows that are easily editable and will accompany the daily lesson plans, refine district unit learning plans, direct support from the 22 TLI coaches and coordinators, additional coaching and support for both classroom teachers and campus administrators from our district partner, Ed Elements. Benchmark Phonics will continue to be an integral resource for us in Tier 2 and Tier 3 instruction and interventions, as well as our special education settings. And regular feedback loops will help to inform and support our plans. The instructional materials and technology allotment was restored in House Bill 1 to traditional levels, roughly $1 billion per biennium. House Bill 1605 also establishes 2 new foundational school program entitlements for SBOE-approved instructional materials, in addition to the allotment. These new FSP funds will be managed in each district's instructional materials and technology account. So in the 22-23 biennium, the funding was set at $61 per student. With approximately 5,400 elementary students, this would generate about $332,000 that we could spend on instructional materials. There are no material costs for us this year for Amplify and Eureka for the 24-25 school year. This leaves $332,000 in our instructional materials account, and the unexpended balances carry over from year to year. In the 2024-25 biennium, funding was set at $171 per student, with an additional $40 for SBOE-approved materials and an additional $20 for SBOE OER instructional materials. With approximately 5,400 elementary students, this would generate about $1.2 million. The consumable replacement costs are approximately $450,000 for Amplify and Eureka for the 25-26 school year. This would leave $800,000 in our instructional materials account. Again, I'd like to remind you that unexpended balances carry over from year to year. The Strong Foundations Planning and Implementation Grants funding aims to assist the district in effectively implementing these instructional materials and providing high-quality professional development for educators, coaches, and leaders to ensure successful and sustainable implementation. And the funding for this top grant that you see here, year one supports, was $3,000 per teacher, coach, and administrator that's implementing these resources on each campus. The year two supports, which we have not applied for yet because that grant hasn't opened up, is $1,500 per teacher, coach, and administrator to support the implementation for year two. Are there any questions I can answer for you at this time?
Dr. Binnicker, I don't know, I saw something, and I don't really, when I was reading through the grants and everything on the TEA website, and it said that this cycle of grant would conclude on August the 20th or whatever, 25th of 25. So are you sure that we are able to carry the money over from year to year?
For the grant money or for the
The
instructional
grant money.
materials?
The
The
grant.
grant money would be spent this year on training for our staff. And I will go through that in the next presentation. The material costs for this year, the materials were received in kind, so there was no cost or money exchange for the materials that would be shipped to us this year.
Okay, but that's, I'm talking about for the 24-25 school year.
Yes, ma'am.
Do we have, do we have to spend all the money that we received in that school year?
That grant money would be spent on training and professional development for next year. Yes, ma'am.
So there's a difference, Ms. Kriegel. So on this slide, this is your,
Oh, sorry.
on this slide right here that I'm showing you, well, it's not over there. Can you go back one? Go back
Yeah,
one.
the money received was strictly for professional learning and to implement the resources.
And that money that he's talking about right there, the 2.433, that would have to be spent during this coming year on those professional learning and supports. This money right here, go back one more, please. There we go. This money right here, that's the part that's the instructional materials and technology allotment. That's the money that can roll forward from year to year, as we've always been able to do. If you have extra money in your IMA, you absolutely can roll that forward. That's the distinction.
So we're gonna be adopting a science curriculum. Can I assume that it's going to be HQIM also?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And was chosen by the teachers?
Yes, ma'am, it was. It's a proclamation year.
I appreciated that process. of going through.
It's an adoption year for our science resource, so yeah, we followed the state adoption proclamation process for that. Yes, ma'am.
Anybody else have something? I have a list.
Go ahead.
Okay, well, my main concern is, from what I hear from the teachers, is that they're leaving kids behind, that there's not any remediation, there's not any time, and that the program actually tells them, go forward, you know. And then also, besides it, there not being remediation, there also is not anything for advancement for like our GT kids. And so that's one of the major concerns that I hear from teachers.
Ms. Kriegel, one of the things that, and I've heard some of those same concerns in my conversations with teachers as I've gone around the district. One of the things that I think is important to point out is that we came late to the game on starting those resources. We started them, as Dr. Binnicker mentioned, October 23rd at the earliest. And I will tell you that I know on a couple of campuses that really didn't happen until about November the 1st. So there are built in to these high-quality instructional materials pause points. Specifically in Amplify, Texas, there are pause points that are built in for the very thing that you're talking about. Pause points for teachers to be able to emphasize areas where students are struggling to go back and reteach. Pause points for young people who are excelling to have enrichment. And so it is the pause points that really suffered from our late implementation of the curricula. And that really was the main issue that caused us to not have as many of those. It's one of the reasons that we're really here today to encourage the implementation now so that we are able to appropriately plan so that teachers are ready to start on day one in August. And that will afford us those opportunities for the very things that you're bringing up.
So are the, so the people that are in charge of those areas, like dual language, GT, the area, they're aware of that? They know that, about the pause points?
Dr. Beneker, can you speak to that? Those
Yes,
are
ma'am,
people
they
on your
do.
team,
Okay.
so-
Yes, ma'am. So we have a pacing calendar that maps out when lessons will take place.
Okay.
And so we're working on the pacing. That's something actually that this partner would work with us
Okay.
to develop that
Because I've heard that
pacing.
concern a lot too from different.
And it was a valid concern this year because we started when we did. We wanted to make sure that we had as much instruction taking place as possible, and we did not have as many pause points in the fall. And the spring semester, we definitely did have more pause points built in, and that's something that we've gone back and revisited as we work towards a fresh start in August. We can build those pause points in and allow more time for intervention and enrichment.
I want to go back to this particular, that particular slide there, please, so they can see on the side. Okay. I really want to point out that top bullet, and this is something that Dr. Beneker mentioned, obviously, as he was going through his presentation, but I really want to emphasize this. This is something that our curriculum team, our TLI team, have already begun to do, is to create these lesson-by-lesson slideshows. I will tell you, this is a practice. I have friends in Burleson. They are about 2.5 years ahead of us in this process. They've done this very thing for their teachers. It is very labor-intensive for our TLI group. However, it is incredibly helpful for our teachers. Note that they are lesson by lesson. They are easily editable. It's not something that they're bound to. It is something that really just takes a lot of the workload off of the teacher, and something that I think is going to be a really helpful thing for our folks.
And regarding the intervention time, that's something that's built into the elementary master schedule, so they all have time built into the day for intervention to take place.
I actually witnessed, let's see, I was at Marvin, pause that they were taking, and they were working with some kids that were struggling. There was another teacher in there, and they were using that pause for that. Then I just showed up at Northside one day. I don't know if I was eating lunch with my granddaughter or what, but they were doing a pause, and it was a theme, Kings and Queens. Because I've heard there's no fun left, but there is. And I've witnessed it in the schools, and they were having a ball that day. They were all dressed up as kings and queens. They went in the cafeteria and they had their tea, and they did dances. And I also have asked my granddaughter and have looked at her work, and what I've been impressed with is how much she likes it, and also all the writing that I've seen. Because kids hate to write, but they're doing a lot of it, which I like. So, also one thing that really blew me away the day I was at Marvin in 5th grade was the vocabulary. The kids were going from one poem to the next, and they were writing down comments. I didn't even know what a couple of words were, and I had to ask the kids. Same thing in the 1st grade classroom. The vocabulary words were up on the whiteboard, and it was like, really? They're learning these words? But the kids knew them because I was asking. So it was impressive.
I think we were on the same trip. We went to Clift, and we walked into a class, and it was a new unit that was starting that day. And I asked the young lady in 3rd grade class that I went into, what was this unit? What are you learning about? And she started to tell me, and she said, well, my favorite unit was, ancient gods and goddesses and Greek mythology, and we learned about the body systems, and we learned about this, and unit 1 was this, and unit 2 was this, and 3, and she rattled off every single unit that she had learned about and the pieces that stuck with her about each unit. I've never had a student tell me, dating back to the fall, a unit that they remembered that they loved. That little girl could.
Well, they're actually excited, and that excitement has really improved the discipline on those pilot campuses too, because those kids are excited about learning, they're focused, and their discipline referrals have gone down, which is very impressive too.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to highlight something. I've sat here for many meetings and listened to both sides go backwards and forth, and I honestly can't remember anything that's been this divisive in the 8+ years that I've been serving on this board. But I want to highlight one thing on here, and I'm going to address some comments that have been made in previous meetings. To me, it's Amplify Texas. Keyword, Texas. It's not the same curriculum that's being taught around the United States. So that's the first part I want to highlight. The other part that I want to stress, and I can't stress this enough, is that some concerns have been about some particular vocabulary or some particular situations that could be deemed inappropriate in some of the literature that they read. And I'm going to tell you personally, I won't tolerate it. Not one instance. And I've been assured that your department is screening this. Okay, but I'm just telling you, I won't tolerate it. Okay,
Understood.
so it's very, very imperative that that continues to happen as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely.
Okay, so are you about to call for a vote?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, can I read something?
Absolutely. You
Okay.
can read it now, or you can read it during the discussion part of the motion, how you, but you can read
Oh,
it now, sure.
however,
Can we read it after
You-
the motion? Or
You
after
can read it
the
whenever
vote?
you want to during the, you want to do that discussion part, so you want me to go ahead and call for the vote?
After the vote?
After the vote?
Yeah, just right
Okay.
after the vote.
I have a question first. I'm a born skeptic, okay? Test scores drive your job, they drive Dr. Hollingsworth's job, they drive the board members who won't be back if they're not good. I understand it full well. I taught for a decade. That's an exaggeration. I taught for 9 years, almost a decade. I've been a part of a really good curriculum rollout and a really bad one. The really bad one was really bad. I have people that I respect immensely on both sides of this subject, and I've talked to both of them. I'm torn. I really am. I really wish I was seeing a full year's worth of data, all the way through. I realize we started late, and that's no dig against any party involved. It's just a fact. I am not big on government control. I'm almost an anarchist. I shouldn't say that really probably in a meeting, but I do think that we need to be paying close attention to what happens in our community, and all these kids are a precious commodity, as well as the employees, and especially people like you guys that are being held to a standard for a vote on your confidence dictated by kids sitting in a room taking a test. And I won't even divulge into that because I really don't agree with that either. There's better ways to do that than as being forced. Your hands are forced. I understand that. But I could write a test in a week that would stand the test of time. We wouldn't have to redo it every 30 minutes and make billions of more dollars off of it. I struggle with the grant money. It's really our tax dollars that have gone to Austin that they're not sending back and not raising your salary and these teachers and the teachers in classrooms every day. So it's a very deep subject to me, and I probably need to quit making the water muddier. But my concern is this, or my question is this: if our test scores are not dramatically different yet next year, where do we go? What do we do? What's plan B? What are we looking at? Because this is going to hurt some people's feelings. Part of our problem is in the past we haven't held people to being on grade level. I taught school. I've been in the classroom. It has been a problem. By doing this, we get them all on grade level. So my question is, are we getting the improvement because we're on grade level now, or are we getting the improvement because the curriculum is better? I don't know. I wish I knew the magic answer to that. And I wish I knew how to make it an easier job to teach, because it's hard. But where do we go from here? What does it look like?
I'd argue to your question about data, it's both. And while I don't have years of data to prove that this program is going to be effective or has been effective because we've only been using it for a 7-month period, I have years of data to show that what we were doing was ineffective.
You're correct.
And I can lean on that.
Yes, I agree with you.
Mr. Schofield, and I would ask, or I would add to that, and you know this, no program will create high-achieving schools
There's
across
no
the board.
magic bullet.
Correct. And you and I know that a big part of what we do is keep excellent principals and teachers, and hire excellent principals and teachers, and support them well. And so all of those things have to be in place for us to get everybody at that high achieving level that we want to see. And so I just want to add that in there. We don't believe this is that Amplify or Eureka are going to fix everything, quote unquote. 31 years of doing this tells me that's not the case. It can be an important ingredient. And that's where we are, and that's where, in lots of conversations with our principals, that's where we landed. So.
One other thing, Dr. Binnicker, I appreciate that you are going to slideshows. I'm actually part of the English of Texas. I know they'll let anybody in, but anyway, but I've done a lot of reading, and that's one of the major complaints is, and can they buy the different slideshows, you know, or did they have to make them? And that's one of the major complaints. So I appreciate that. I would throw in, though, we do have dual language. Are we going to cover the dual language schools also?
Yes, ma'am, we will.
Those are going to need to be written in Spanish.
Yes, ma'am.
So, and that's it's been a major headache.
Yes, ma'am. I sat in here a couple of months ago with our elementary principals, and that was one of the things that I committed my team to do for them. And when I sat in here, Dr. H came into the meeting afterwards, and the meeting was described as one of the coldest meetings he's walked into. But I sat with these principals, and I was asking them questions, and we went around the room, principal by principal, talk to me, tell me what you need, what you want, the direction that we want to move forward as a district, and everyone told me the same thing. And then I shared my thoughts and what I felt about this, and I committed my team to doing the additional work of providing these slides because I know that's something extra for teachers that we could take off of their plate. And we've offered up for teachers to come and work with us if they want to and be a part of this so that they can have some ownership in this. And if a certain teacher doesn't like the color or the picture or the timer that's on a slide, they can edit and customize those however they want to. But we're going to give you those things. And I also just learned that our science resource that we'll adopt in a couple of weeks also comes with slides. So it's another thing that we're taking off of our teachers' plates at the elementary level.
Anyone else?
I also wanted to say that I love Eureka. As a former math teacher, when I was presented, I just said yippee, because we're going back to what I consider the way that we should have been teaching math and should have never stopped teaching math. So I'm really excited to see how the district's going to improve, because I know they're going to. I'm real impressed with that.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. At this time, I entertain a motion to approve action item D, which is consideration of possible action to approve district instructional resources toward the 2024-2025 school year and beyond as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Tillman. Is there a second? Second. Second by Mr. McCutcheon. Any other discussion? Would really like for you to read whatever you want to read during the
Okay.
discussion part if possible.
I'll go ahead.
So we can move on to the next item.
I'll go. Okay, this might be hard for me because I'm about to roll off the board and it just may be hard, but I think all of you, any of you out there that know me, you know that this is genuine coming from me. I'm coming from the standpoint of someone who enrolled my first child in WISD 20 years ago. Can't believe it. I've followed the district closely, been an active volunteer all of that time, and have grown to have a deep respect, appreciation, and love for so many, and I have heard from many of them over this year. I respect and admire our teachers and administrators, and I truly believe in their desire to help our kids be successful, no matter the resources used. Even though times have changed in the world of public education, which that's an understatement, isn't it? It is still the teacher who is the most important part of his or her student's success. And that brings me to my concern. It appears that we took an approach to this program that was reactive, hurried, and unilateral in the fall. Do districts that we want to emulate find themselves in this same spot? Surely we have a process in place or some type of administrative regulations for researching, planning, and deciding on new curriculum that involves input and collaboration from teachers and administrators. And I do applaud that that's happened since, this all happened in the fall. But I think the reason why we're in the divisive situation that we're in is because by missing that important step before, we set the stage for a lack of ownership by staff. And this is with anything. If you don't, I mean, that's, when I ran for school board, you know, we had failed bonds, and a lot of that was because we never took the time to involve the community and ask them what they wanted, and then once we did that, we passed a bond. People have to have ownership. Then you take on top of that and add the fact that Amplify is so controversial for so many reasons, and it just starts everything off on a negative note. I certainly applaud anyone at one of our pilot campuses that has been able to see some benefit from this program. But I can say that I've also been told by more than a few staff that no matter what resource is used, if it's taught with fidelity and accountability, there should be some improvement. So the question is, why are we so dead set on a highly controversial one? There are teachers and administrators who support using Amplify, but there are also plenty who don't. I'm sad to hear rumblings of staff who want to look elsewhere, some with much wisdom and experience that we need to keep around. I'm also sad that we have some campuses that are successful and thriving, but yet we are telling them they have to change. I'm certainly not the expert here, but I just really have a hard time understanding why that has to happen. I don't understand why we want to break some campuses to fix the district. Can't we just allow the campuses that truly want it to use it? As I roll off the board, I'd like to encourage our district to truly look at something that I've been concerned about and voiced for a long time, creating a central office culture that has a true customer service approach to assisting our employees. I feel that before we mandate another program, we need to assess our level of trust with our staff. I also don't see how we are so trusting of the state on this topic, but not on others. That puzzles me. And you can call me a conspiracy theorist if you want to. But I mean, I just see the push for Amplify as another sneaky way to put a nail in the coffin of Texas public schools. I mean, you can be conservative and still support public schools. I've been that way. Also, on the list that comes from TEA, I don't see any wow districts that we strive to be like. Most of them are very, very small districts with probably not much in the way of curriculum, staff, or resources. This topic is just so divisive, and I have heard from so many highly respected people in this district that aren't comfortable with it. So I guess that's all I have to say. Thank you for listening.
Any other discussion?
I'll just, go ahead
Go
and
ahead.
my statement. Okay. First, I want to apologize for having this meeting on the night before a large number of our students are testing for STAR. If you're watching this, please get some rest this evening. You have done your best. That is all we can ask. It is our job to provide you the tools you need to be successful. I don't know how many of you know it, but the last 9 years of my teaching career, I got to advocate for kids. I got to make sure our seniors graduated. It was the best job ever. Now I get to advocate for all of WISD, all of them. I've talked with so many on both sides about Amplify. Obviously, I don't believe it is the best tool we can give you. However, if it is the will, that was the key, if it is the will of the board, I will be sure that you have every tool you need to make Amplify successful in WISD. With me, it's about one thing, our kids getting the best education that they can possibly offer them. The tool is being chosen. Now I must support it and be sure that all the promises that are made are carried out. I pray that our veteran teachers will give it a chance, but totally understand if you can't. The proof will be in the scores. Again, with me, it is not about the scores, but about our kids learning and the teachers and our principals being supported.
Any other discussion? Okay. At this time, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay.
No.
All right, I'm gonna do a hand vote. All in favor say aye, raise your hand. Okay, be 4, and nays? Okay, motion carries 4-3. All right, motion action item E, which would be consideration with possible action to approve a contract with Ed Elements. How you say, ED Elements, how do you say that?
Ed Elements, yes, sir. In your binder on page 28, you will see the proposal from Ed Elements, the company we have chosen as our approved partner for the Strong Foundation's planning and implementation grants. We conducted a review of partners after we were awarded this grant in January based on a thorough interview guide for selecting an approved provider. We were looking for a partner with a desire to understand the specific context of Waxahachie ISD and how they can customize supports to meet our specific needs. We reviewed specific examples of past work and how it positively affected teaching and learning in those districts. Specifically, we were looking for a partner with strong experience in community engagement and communication and a thorough knowledge of the change management process. As I previously shared, successfully implementing and supporting the Amplify reading program, as well as Eureka in our schools, will require careful planning, collaboration, and ongoing assessment. TLI and campus administrators will partner with teachers to build capacity as they implement resources and research-based instructional strategies. A structured literacy approach weaves together an array of skills from the science of reading, and it's crucial to teach the components of the science of reading in an explicit, cumulative, and responsive way. This comprehensive plan outlines the necessary steps to ensure that students benefit from improved literacy and reading skills, setting them on a path toward academic success and ensuring that we live out our highest priority of every student growing academically every year. The project to support Waxahachie ISD and the planning and implementation of HQIM for Amplify and Eureka focuses on a multi-stream stakeholder approach centered around, as I shared before, building the capacity of our instructional leaders, ensuring strong engagement, communication, and alignment of practice with regional leaders, providing timely and content-specific supports through differentiated professional learning and school-based support, as well as creating a multi-year implementation plan for the district. An additional area of support will be to guide us in ensuring that we maintain open lines of communication with teachers, staff, and the community throughout this process. This training and support comes at no cost to the district. The support from Ed Elements is covered completely by the Strong Foundations grant, which will allow Ed Elements to partner with us to provide 121 days of on-site training and approximately 4,200 hours of support over the implementation period in year 1. Are there any questions I can answer for you at this time?
Question for Dr. Menninger? Okay, at this time I entertain a motion to approve action item E as presented. Motion by Mr. McCutcheon,
Second.
second by Mr. Tillman. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries 7-0. And the last item will be, I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Kriegel, have a second? Second by Mr. Rogers, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. Thank you very much.